Let's talk heaven and hell. Let's restore right thinking so we can speak properly and do properly. So, in order to speak properly, you have to think in a right fashion. Okay. You have to understand eternity. You have to have faith in an infinite source that's the source of eternity. And then you have to speak rightly and then do rightly, right? Otherwise, you're living in hell. Okay. Living in hell is not believing in the Lord, having no faith in the glory of God. And it's Blaise Pascal, the wager. It's better to wager that there is a God than no God. Because if there is no God, we're all worm food when we die. But if you behave as if there's a God, you have a good life on planet Earth. Then when you die, the people that you affected while you live get to live a good life because they live as if there is a God, and you see what I'm saying. So, heaven and hell do not exist before or after death. They exist during life. Okay. Heaven is living the eternal, faithful, loving peace of the eternal, perfect Father. Hell is denying that and denying it to others. Okay, that's the linguistics of the Gospels. Okay, from the Torah to the Bible to the Quran to the. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so you have to understand how important that is. See how convenient that is. See how important that is. Okay, I'll use zero my heroes out there. Okay, so guys, you got to understand this. Okay, and then when you get people, and I explain to people, the most tortured person in history. No, John McCain was tortured way more than you. He had a much worse life in the Hanoi Hilton than you've ever had. Oh, really? Let's go over John McCain's military service and Ralph Earl Parsons Jr.'s service to life and the living of living the Lord's Prayer. John McCain got in an airplane and dropped napalm on innocent children. His plane got shot down and he ended up giving his plane up to the enemy of the people that he was mass murdering, who would try to mass murder him and his people. And then he was tortured by those people because he deserved it. Okay. Ralph Earl Parsons Jr. joined the military out of economic necessity, refused to be a part of any kind of special forces that would mass murder people on command to maintain the status quo for economics. When he found out that the corporations were incorrect, he left them, tried to go back to school to see if there was some way to exist in their higher education system so we could apply the physics of living like taught in the Gospels, which was quite impossible, so he dropped out. After doing so, his family was moved to Sierra Vista, Arizona, where they sat there and said, "Your life seems to have fulfilled the book of Revelation. Please explain." I explained it and then have been tortured ever since. I don't think that any of the other fighter pilots in Vietnam went and got people to have sex with John McCain's wife and posted it on underground chat rooms for everybody to watch and make fun of him in Cochise County, Arizona. I don't think his children were sexually abused and compromised by scientists at the Pentagon, physical scientists at the Pentagon. So, and then I don't think when he stood up to stop poor people from being mass murdered by the witch to maintain status quo, that he was tortured with the poor people to try to get him to stop trying to save the poor people from the rich, because the witch felt the poor deserved to die because they had become what the rich perceived as disgusting, because the poor were reflecting the lack of value that was given to them by the wealthy. So I don't want to hear into this shit. John McCain and Nelson Mandela were tortured way more than you ever were. Nelson Mandela got violent and killed people because he was being treated like an animal. I've been treated worse than animals in laboratories and have never got violent and attempted to kill any of the scientists that study me. And I, by scientific study, am way more efficient at defending myself and hunting down and killing all the people that study me like a lab rat. So you guys might want to reassess your idol worship of Nelson Mandela. And Ralph's a crazy bigot who thinks he's better than Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela if he was honest with himself before he died, would understand that Ralph Earl Parsons Jr. is just sequentially, eternally a better genetic human being than Nelson Mandela. Like Nelson Mandela said about beautiful Steve Biko, he said, I was but an arm of the movement that didn't know how to react properly and didn't know how to behave as well as a man, not to act like an animal when treated like the true head of our movement in South Africa to deliver our people from apartheid was obviously Steve Biko and not me. So Nelson Mandela was gracious enough to recognize that in his fellow Zulu. If he knew who I was and wasn't gracious enough to recognize that in me, then he obviously had some mental disabilities, like John McCain and Richard Branson and Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and other CEOs and Elon Musk and other CEOs. And Jeff might have that too. The one who's the main financial benefactor for YouTube, he might have some of those disabilities too. And Jeff might be coming to terms with it because I'm still posting on his social media network. So Jeff might be the only mogul in the world right now that's coming to terms with the fact, like, I might be mentally disabled because of my connections to these other psychopaths, and I might need help from not being so to help save my genetic sequencing from these psychopaths. So I'm gonna keep this platform alive and give a platform per Parsons to express himself, because he just might be intellectually superior to me because of his humility. It's not might, he is, okay? You're funny, I know. Okay. Now, I was looking at some of those old videos where I made that connection to Marshall Mathers from Detroit, okay? And Ahmad Ali Lewis. Ahmad I think he's from L.A. I think Ahmad from Crenshaw, from Compton, and yeah, I think that's where Ahmad from, Marshall from the Detroit area, like my Gaines, Anthony Gaines. I have family from Detroit, very good family. And I also have good family from the LA area and stuff. And so I've met lots of good people that have been very good family to me. I'm a barrio boy who has a lot in common with the ghetto folk. So I know my way around. And so I love y'all very much, but let's just keep working. Let's load this one up. Okay. If you got ego problems, I'll kick the shit out of your ego problems. I didn't get to watch the first 10 minutes of entertainment tonight. I got it set to record. I'll watch it in the morning. I'll figure out what the people are doing with the mindfuck of Miss Lopez so I can help the Affleck family through hell. Well, because, it's worth a shot. Okay, guys, I love you. Hey, man, if people were used to make your life miserable and you realized they were being used, would you do things to help them repent, and go and sin no more? Well, that's why you're not the Messiah. Okay, I love you very much.